And I know you got I would love to hear more about sort of your role and what all that means in a second here. And as Jason mentioned, Mark Schlosser, and I head up the brand partnerships team at White Ops. So for those that aren't familiar, we're a cybersecurity company. We analyze at this point 10 trillion interactions in a given week. Just protecting our partners from sophisticated bots, which are really just designed to look and act, exactly like humans now. So when we talk about for brands and growth marketers, what this really means is bots are trying to take journeys through the sort of entire marketing stack. Everything from like things like search and social that are trying to drive new customers to site, to all the way downstream within the marketing stack, within the data pools and the targeting pools. Bots are trying to take that full journey and try to manipulate and sort of capitalize on as much money as possible. So sort of as a lot of marketers are more data and sort of performance obsessed now and looking at things like CAC and LTV, we're sort of helping create efficiencies and helping to drive, improvements in metrics and data and targeting and analytics, and, seeing sort of huge improvements in ROI. And it's really like the newest frontier that we're fighting with the advertising industry against cyber criminals. So, excited to dive in here with another company that really values security, as much as White Ops. So Sachin, thank you again for your time, and it's great to have you here. So, while most of us are really aware of the McAfee brand, tell us a bit more about McAfee in the marketplace today and your role, and what all that means in terms of the title.
You bet. And I'm glad how Jason did it, but he kind of put the two security companies together. I know White Ops is an industry name. I've been familiar with the great work White Ops has been doing, and you look at the security from advertiser standpoint and the marketing ecosystem. From McAfee standpoint, I mean, McAfee, we are fortunate, we are a household name. We are one of the pioneers in the world of cybersecurity with more than 30 years of experience providing solutions around cybersecurity. So we fundamentally believe that together is power when it comes to cybersecurity. And because we sit at the backbone of internet or anything online activity. So pretty much each and every technology has to kind of go through the platforms and the backbones and the data that McAfee kind of work towards. So to that extent, we have end-to-end cloud to device to personal protection. And that's a rich amount of data that allows us to look at the wide breadth of all the attacks that are happening. Our advanced threat research team is constantly looking for that threat. So it just keeps McAfee always ahead in the game to make sure that we are always looking and protecting the customer. So that's the business McAfee is in. As you think of cybersecurity, it is a very trust-focused business because end of the day, you are trusting a company as a consumer to protect yourself or your family or your household from all kinds and variety of unknown and known threats out there. So the customer loyalty and satisfaction is very, very critical in our industry. So our loyalty runs multi-year. So for performance marketers out there, the customer lifetime value is very, very high once you acquire the customer. It takes a lot, and my colleague Anthony is going to touch upon some of those elements of all the great work his team is doing to drive that retention. So, but it's a play around that. In terms of my role, it's plain and simple. How do we get more customers into the fold and help protect more, and of course enable from the customer lifetime value? But as I said, together is power. The bigger the ecosystem, the more we are able to protect, the better we'll be able to protect. And I think that's the vision, and that's the mission on my team kind of works and comes to the work, and that's what we work towards. We touch in terms of specifics, we touch pretty much every customer touch point when it comes to acquisition.
I love that. And, we're approaching the 2-year anniversary of a huge botnet takedown of Eve, where there's actually repercussions for people, and there's people sitting in a Brooklyn jail cell today. And we talk about collective security and collective protection all the time. And in this world, it's like, if your competitor works with us, that's great, because they're actually helping to protect you, and you could focus on business outcomes. Focusing on the things that truly matter is what security is all about, where it's let the experts do what they can do for you, and then you can focus on the things that really matter. And I love all those things that you mentioned there. So, I think like, in this time, and, we mentioned you have a family, and just so important. We spend so much time in our jobs. So just to keep it light to start here, like time is our most precious commodity. So like having people love their jobs is so important. Like, what do you love most about working at McAfee?
I think, and one thing that hasn't changed for me in 20 years doing marketing is the people and the smart folks that you interact, ideate day in, day out. And I think that's what I enjoy the most. Part of my job is to work with some of the really smart people and exchange ideas with them. What we solve for is customer experience, end of the day. How do we deliver a customer experience that delivers the trust and joy and the awareness and the interest that is needed for them to choose McAfee, to help them protect their family, and kind of vice versa. But end of the day, that's what I miss the most. I've always been known as a whiteboard guy, so I miss that a little bit more, being not in office. But with all the technologies around, we are doing fine. But that I'm missing my whiteboard quite a bit, because brainstorm is where the magic happens, in my opinion.
How is this not a feature in Zoom right now? Like, how did they not build a whiteboard feature in that? It makes no sense to me. Like,
yeah, well, I mean, Zoom or Teams or WebEx or
yeah,
any web technology, I think it's coming. I think there are solutions out there. I know my daughter, she uses Teams, and their teachers are using whiteboards and others, which is pretty amazing. And I think it's only a matter of time. I think there is a human element to it. People are using big screens which are not touch screen, and you need stylus for that kind of stuff. So, well, not going down and geeking out into how you can solve the problem, but I think there is a need there, in my opinion.
totally. I'm with you, and definitely miss that aspect of it. It's just great overall, just geeking out with other cybersecurity professionals, and I love, my world marries cybersecurity and marketing, which it just fascinates me every day. Where I sit next to at times, former FBI agents that are working on threat intel stuff, and that's like, holy crap, what is going on here? And hearing from someone like you is I think super special for this community. So and let's just hit on like the security aspects of COVID. There's so much that goes on right now where the sort of risk surface has increased because so many people are working from home, and residential areas are less secure, generally speaking. So from McAfee's perspective, like, what are they seeing? What are the trends you're seeing in the marketplace today?
Yeah. So I think our life has completely changed. Like, as a consumer, the life has completely transformed. I mean, the online activity is unprecedented ever. I remember, like, back in the day, oh, what is the 2020 plan is going to look like? Or now we're working on a 2025 vision. But end of the day, what we were expecting in future is now. The online activity is so high. People are engaging with devices. The personal protection is on the rampage as well. Now, if you look at the personal devices people are buying, is huge. So with all these activity happening, like online education, online health, what have you, we are living our life online. What we are seeing is as this activity is rising, there is also more attacks that are rising. We are detecting somewhere around 375 threats per hour. And so there are threads that are evolving. What we have seen in our research shows that the threads that look for next 2 years are very different than the threads that were there in last decade. They're evolving. 68% of the consumers have already said that there have been some kind of a spam or attack in the last couple of months. Only 9% from our research shows that the consumers feel very safe online. So the whole idea around just, hey, I have my devices protected is very old. It has truly evolved towards, how do I keep myself protected, my family protected, my kids protected, my household protected? Because with the surge of IoT, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have found different new hobbies as COVID has forced them. There's more IoT in your device, in your home. So what our research has shown is that the security is not just about device. It is important, but it has evolved into more of a personal protection in your household protection, whether it is privacy. Hey, you are engaging online. Is my interaction private or not? I mean, I'm meeting my doctor online. Is it private? Is my identity private or not? Is my identity safe or not? Can I trust the site that I'm visiting? Can I trust the app that I'm downloading? And of course, is my data safe? Is my password safe? So we have seen some huge interest in towards more of privacy, identity, and personal protection versus just the device look. what we found ourselves lucky that we were in this transformation for the last 2 years from more device-centric to personal protection, and we feel that this journey has really helped us and positioned us well for COVID. Yes, more midnight oil for us because what we were planning in a few years, we have to do it sooner, but it's fascinating of how much that the world of security has evolved.
Yeah, it's and I love what you're saying. And when you say personal protection, what I'm actually hearing is like you're protecting your community. You're protecting those you actually email with. You're protecting your family. You're not just protecting yourself when you're being safe. You're actually protecting all those you interact with. So it's community protection is what it really is.
It totally is. I mean, you're spot on. End of the day, I have a daughter, and I'm more worried about her than I'm about myself or the data that I have. So end of the day, it is about your community, my parents, my family. And this is what our research is saying. And the sensitivity around security is already heightened in this time. Like what we are worried about, why are we at home? Because we want to be protected. We want to be safe. We want to keep our family safe. So the sensitivities are already high, which has really exacerbated the trend towards protecting and safeguarding your community versus just your device, because life is happening around your device. You're living, you're meeting your family around device. So I think that's where we are seeing there is a massive, massive transformation. With COVID, it was already happening, but COVID has really accelerated that. What are you seeing? I'm sure your team is exposed to something similar too. I'm curious, what are you guys seeing?
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's a great question. And a couple of years ago, you'd think like, there's so many sort of implementations for like the world of programmatic and marketers and the ecosystem really have taken a lot of good precautions in that world. So like when we think about like the new frontiers of the world of ad fraud, we think about where the trends are, exactly what you're saying. So there's two things. Think about it this way. All the people spending time on the CTV devices, right? There's opportunity for the cyber criminals to actually take advantage of that and to actually sort of monetize off the high CPMs that are happening in that world. And the second is really from a marketing fraud perspective, and that's the challenge I'm really focused on helping to solve today. Is all of these brands are moving, are directly sort of engaging with consumers now, and they're building out all these platforms and they're driving all this traffic to site, but it's not something that's technically been looked at from a fraud perspective in the past. So there's huge opportunity for these cyber criminals to actually enter into these ecosystems and manipulate these marketers. And so those are like the two trends that we're seeing, and we're really helping our brands and our partners solve today.
That's amazing. I've been interacting with the ad fraud industry. Isn't it somewhere like $20+ billion of ads are just wasted in the fraud itself? And this is known, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if my number is off there.
You know what? It could be. And it's like, who the heck knows of what's actually out there? Like we've reported around 7 billion, but then as we look at marketing fraud, like that's a whole nother area we didn't even sort of include in that number. So it's a lot. And there's a huge opportunity for marketers to take it back. And once again, it's like focus on what matters and like let the experts sort of take this challenge away from you. So just continuing in and diving in here, how you sort of interact is much different now, and especially as you're thinking about the dialogue you're creating with your customers and potential customers. So sort of how is McAfee adjusted, and how have they adapted?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Just to build on that, we have constantly been pivoting from device centricity to life centricity, person centricity. And if you look at what customers are doing nowadays, is they're leading their life online. Life entails schooling your kids from home. I mean, everybody knows. Yeah, you're working from home. Yeah, duh. But you're schooling your kids from home. Some of our friends have lost the job, so people are looking for jobs from home. Folks are doing fitness from home. I went to the hospital earlier this week, and I was like, oh my God. And like, so folks are doing telehealth, like, because there's fear of even visiting a hospital. Heck, I mean, I know Ishita and the previous one, they talked about the other things that customers are doing. For example, dating. People are dating from home. There are singles out there who like to meet others. There's health. So people are leading their life online. And what we realize is one of the best way we can serve our community is by providing them information, resources, how do they lead their life better? So what we have invested very heavily towards is content, really relevant content that talks about how do they lead their life better. For example, we have a whole series of resources and tutorials and blogs available. If you're schooling from home, what resources you could go to teach your kids, to train them, and to better prepare them while you're managing them from home. If you're doing health from home, what that means. If you're looking for a job, how do you prepare for a job interview? What equipment you should look into? How do you get into that zone of being able to really go through the whole interview process and then onboard? So we're putting our own resources by creating this hub. We call it as From Home Hub. And that From Home Hub is just a pure play content providing and having the conversations that consumers want to have. We are onboarding a lot of evangelists out there. For example, there is a cyber mom from Australia. She's sharing her experiences and resources of, hey, if you want to attend a wedding remotely, what apps are available, what resources are available that you can attend wedding remotely. If you want to attend a goodbye or a funeral online, what resources and what tips are available for somebody to attend that. These are important moments of human life, and we are leading it behind the screen. And what we are investing in really building the content that jive with the customers and help them lead their life better. So our pivot has been really towards from purely device. Of course, our day in, day out business is security. But we really want to have that conversation and add value to our community so that we are keeping them protected more holistically, and in the process, just make it a little bit less difficult as they lead their life or more productive. So that's basically where our focus has been, and we are investing tremendously around this content and then making sure that the right content is delivered to the right customers at the right amount of time. In our business, people don't buy cybersecurity software every day. It's that event is maybe annual, or in some cases, many cases, it's like 4 or 5 years. So it is a lot about adding value to the customers and being relevant. And that's where we are investing in at this time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think there's a couple, someone on my team just got married a couple weeks ago. So I attended my first sort of virtual wedding. Shout out to Nicholas. Congratulations. And, I'm just thinking like what to do when your dog starts barking during a webinar, which is happening currently. There's all these things.
Oh, that never happens. What are you talking about?
So all these things I think is so smart of like, look, if you're good to your customers and you sort of continue to build your brand, like people will come and people will understand that like you become a resource. And I think it's such a smart approach that you guys are taking. So it's great. So to sort of hit on sort of your point, and you're spending sort of a significant amount of time just educating and in fact building your brand. How, if at all, do you think about brand versus performance marketing at this time? Since at the end of the day, you are a growth marketer.
Yeah, so that's a great question. Thanks for asking that. In my opinion, that everything company does is around the brand, which is the perception that you deliver or the perception that exists in the eyes of consumers today or in future that you want to achieve. And a lot of the way the performance marketing has evolved in the last 10 years is around, hey, let's focus on just converting and conversion focus versus, hey, there's another team in brand. So there has always been these silos. To me, it's a continuum. The brand marketing and or as you call it as mid or upper funnel marketing is very intertwined with the performance, which is driving the conversion. And the more and more marketers I'm seeing, very advanced marketers are starting to think of this as a continuum, is how do you have this one consistent experience and managing your funnel, marketing funnel, if you will, linear, non-linear, that's a debate for some other day. But how do you manage this funnel with the consumer? Where it is about educating customers about what does security mean to them, why, and then also facilitating the right level of content as they are moving more closer to making a decision why they need security and what type of security they need. So the way we operate is a full continuum end-to-end funnel, and having done this in silos in the world where we focus Part of my life was around focusing on brand mid-funnel. We did it day in, day out. Part of my life earlier was about performance marketing and converting and like taking customers ready to the transactions. And I think what we are trying to do here at McAfee is really amazing. And I feel pretty proud of that, is that we are looking full end-to-end customer touch point and really nurturing the customer along that funnel, to speak in marketing terms. But truly, customers are not differentiating you that you report to the VP of performance marketing or you report to the VP of brand. To you, the customer is the same brand. And to me, that is critical. I've learned this from one of my ex-bosses, Antonio Lucio, he was ex-CMO for Facebook and ex-CMO for HP. And I drank that Kool-Aid a long time ago, and I feel marketers should think that way too.
I mean, it's so intelligent, and what a great boss to have it, from sure. And I just love hearing like what you're saying, because you do it in a B2C world, and we're in like this B2B world where we're trying to educate brands on like why they actually need this. And it's fascinating in so many ways. And I work collaboratively with our marketing team all the time, and we talk about like, okay, this is, like this is what our goal is for this particular thing, and what are the outcomes, what are the KPIs we're really looking at to drive success, what is short term, what is long term. And there's just so many intricacies as you're talking about the funnel and the impacts and how you get the word out, especially for security. I mean, it's building trust, and ultimately it's so important. So very interesting to hear sort of in sort of how you're communicating with your customers, and digging in further on your approach as as a growth marketing leader, and really at a successful company. Are there any like fundamental principles that you've learned through the years, or that you sort of follow at McAfee, that you think get too much credit that you do not follow?
I think every marketer loves and hates its attribution. It's a love-hate relationship. I feel there was a time where it makes sense to have last touch attribution and kind of use that as a gospel and then kind of drive for it. The technology, the need for privacy and others have evolved so much, and the channels have broadened up, that I think the last touch attribution needs to evolve. More and more marketers, advertisers, CFOs have to start looking at business in totality, the marketing efforts in totality, versus paying a lot of attention towards purely a last touch attribution. And I think the need, just to broaden that further, I feel that the need for measurement is critical in this time than it has ever before. With a ton of browser-related privacy restrictions coming in, regulations coming around GDPR, CCPA, there are already conversations happening in other states to implement something similar to CCPA. So it's here to stay. And I feel sometimes just to make life easy or to make spreadsheet easy, a lot of customers, a lot of advertisers try to adopt the last touch and then try to apply incrementality and things around that. And I think there is an absolute need towards evolving that. Now, whether MTA will stay or not, to be seen. I think it is definitely under the threat, but I do feel the last click attribution is so old. And I think advertisers, marketers, CFOs should start looking at the business results in totality of marketing operations versus just uniline. Hey, you spend in SEM, you spend in social, and what is the return just from there itself? Because it isn't actually like that.
Such a gameable system too, and I think definitely preach on about the need for measurement in certain areas like that, and how it's so gameable. And it always just, whenever someone says last click attribution, I always start thinking about like AOL Instant Messenger back in the day, and how that probably got credit for every single conversion. So just continuing on with this conversation a bit here, one thing I've heard from the conversations we've had is personalization experience is an important topic for your team. What does personalized messages mean to your team, and how do you manage that in the world of privacy?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And personalization, it means different to different people and how you're adopting the context. For us, it is pretty simple. I go by one of the things that we drive as a part of our experimentation practice in general is what customer outcomes / behaviors that you would want to change. and it could be different. Like some of those behaviors is conversion, some of those behaviors is engagement, some of those behaviors is video views, whatever you call it. At the end of the day, you want to influence a customer behavior / outcome, which would lead to some kind of an impact. And as long as you keep customer in mind, that we do marketing to make sure that we deliver value to some kind of an outcome that we want to achieve from consumer, that's personalization from my standpoint. Now you can cut it in various ways. Like if you are advertising in India, show an Indian flag, show content that is relevant for them. It is daytime, don't show the night, things of that nature. So you can go in that level. Some people will call them as segmentation, but hey, isn't that just a broad way of looking at personalization? So that is one. To me, it really boils down to customer obsession, understanding what your customer's needs are, what stage they are in. For example, as we talked about the content, as a parent, for example, if you deliver a content to a parent which is all about how do you keep your kids protected, what is this another room, attending the classes, and they're not exposed to anything they shouldn't be exposed to, which is not age appropriate, they're not spending too much time in front of the screen that is needed, things of that nature, very relevant. And on a working professional who's sitting in Starbucks at some point, or other coffee shop is connected to a public Wi-Fi, it's probably more relevant for that customer to know is how can they be protected when they're using the public Wi-Fi system versus hey, how can you protect your kids studying online when it's not even relevant? So avoiding the cognitive overload while obsessing about the customer to make sure what you deliver, the experience that you deliver, is jiving with them, that delivers an outcome. That outcome is a consumer behavior, is what, in my opinion, at least our team is aspiring towards solving day in, day out, and we run hundreds of experiments at any given point of time, and they're all driven towards a customer obsession framework that we apply across the board, not just marketing. It starts from product experience down to every single touch point. And with that customer obsession framework, our experiments would evolve, our tests would evolve, and our outcome is always a consumer behavior. I've used that framework for many, many years, and I find it very helpful that when you ground yourself into customer outcome, it makes it easier for you to understand what is personalization. In terms of technology, I think you should talked about that in the previous session as well. You need a single place to have all your customer data, all customer touchpoint coming to a CDP or a DMP, whatever you use, and then that allows you to activate. But contextualizing it to the stage of the customer is, I think, where the real value comes in my opinion.
You know, when you talked about sort of the customer and sort of optimizing towards the outcomes, and you know, as you talk about like CDPs, you're investing so much time and so much money into every single user, into every single customer sort of customer conversation, and then from like a security lens and like especially the lens of like a White Ops world, you know, like what if a bot does enter into your ecosystem? What if a bot does enter into your CDP? Like, how do you ensure that the personalized conversation was actually initiated by a human? And sort of that longer term conversation is not being wasted on a bot that is designed to look exactly like a human.
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel there is also a need in the industry around this. There are enough solutions out there which are solving for a part of the problem, part of the marketing ecosystem. For example, there are ad verification solutions that are available. You already know of those. Is how when you're delivering media, when you're buying ad impressions, are they actually delivered to the right? Are they actually delivered to a human? They are delivered in the right geo. They are brand safe, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's viewable, things like that. So there are ad verification solutions that allow you to do that at the delivery of your ads, or even pre-delivery of your ad as pre-bidding and things like that. So there are solutions around that. Platforms like Google's and Facebook, they invest pretty heavily to keep their ecosystem clean as well. So there are solutions around that as well. When somebody visits on your site, there are solutions around to detect some kind of a behavior that are imitated more by bots. But I feel, and I'm giving you this answer to this, I feel there is a need for a consolidated, unified solution at the industry level to really have the bot tracking. Back to where we both started, I think you talked about the collaborative protection. We talked about together is power. I think if industry really comes together, ad tech platforms really come together and join the technology, there is a need and potential solution around removing as much possible the fraud that happens in the marketing world. And I think there's tremendous value, and that value created can be invested back into the returns or adding more value to the customers, et cetera. But I think there is a need. Love to hear your thoughts. What are you seeing in the ad tech world for that?
Yeah, it's a super interesting conversation, and it's what, when we go back to the original point of like collective protection and like and trust, and that's like the end of the day. It's like you want to make sure that the journey of your consumer and your journey for a marketer is actually being protected from point A to the final point of that journey. And so the reason why we created, sort of our marketing integrity product is that exact reason. There's that full funnel, and even like as you get into like a CDP, like you want to make sure that you're interacting with a human, that the sort of trigger of that user that entered into your CDP wasn't a bot, that actually looked like a human, and there's just a ton of wasted value there. And so, when we talk about collective protection, it's about like helping our partners understand like who is actually protected, what are all the points that are actually being protected. And so many of these companies have hundreds of people in their security teams, but like what else are they doing from like the outside to ensure that experts are also looking at it? So understanding and like helping our partners understand, educating, but also protecting the full marketing flow and that full marketing journey to ensure that, sort of a lifetime is not wasted on a bot. And that's exactly what we're trying to solve. Well, that we are solving today, and helping marketers understand that this is a real challenge, but it is a solvable challenge and an opportunity to really create huge returns if you're able to eliminate the bots. So thank you for sort of raising that.
No, thank you. Thanks for, and congratulations for trying to solve for this. I think there's an immense need when you're sending an email. Like, how do you know you're sending it to the right person? Is it really not a bot who's imitating and trying to be a human, and vice versa across other systems too? So I'm glad you guys are working towards some kind of a solution around that.
And that's the whole point, is like make sure that from the entry point is actually protected. So that's exactly right. And so I know that we're going to dive into Q&A in a second here. Just as sort of like, I'd love to just hear your point as like a final thing of like, what is sort of the most important thing for the marketing world to know about cybersecurity? Like you worked at StubHub, you worked at HP, now you're at McAfee. Like what have you learned that like maybe you didn't know before you started?
Yes, coming from the live entertainment world, talking about football and then talking about cybersecurity, it's quite a change. I think one thing I would say, and I can't emphasize enough, is personalization, being relevant. Everything is very important from marketing standpoint, and I think it adds value to the customer. One thing that I've always believed, and it's even more cemented having worked for a cybersecurity company, is that consumer privacy is not up for bargain, period. Just simple. It's something that I think the more we accept this fact, we'll build solutions around to safeguard and protect and respect that privacy. So I think that is one. Second, customers do like value, and they're ready to give more information on an exchange of a value. When you offer a value, offer a good piece of content, offer something that improves value in their life, they are ready to part with some level of that privacy or some level of information that they're ready to share with you. And I think that is immense. Second thing related as well is and I say this on marketing panels or anything, is like always look for your end-to-end customer experience. Yes, everybody has a job to solve for within the realm, within the channels, within the geos, within the focus area, but always have an end-to-end customer view, because you would see what level of value you can deliver, what level of protection you can provide to the customer when we look at the full cycle versus only your area. And again, the moment you break the silos, the together is power automatically starts coming in, because now you're representing one view to the customer versus multiple. since you asked the question more within the cybersecurity world, I would say that is what I learned quite a bit. It is important, and I thought that I was very well aware of all the cybersecurity risk and all the risks that were happening in ad fraud and things like that. I've been doing this for more than 6 or 7 years now. But I learned quite a bit. There are more sophisticated bots out there, more sophisticated ways people are trying to steal information. And I think it's something we should acknowledge, respect, and then kind of build solutions around that.
And I've been at White Ops in the cybersecurity world for 5 years, and I've learned a lot from you just in this conversation. I hope a lot of people have a lot of takeaways. There's a couple questions here I'd love to just to ask you as well from the audience. As you talked a lot about like personalization and privacy, and this one's just related to like the mobile world, and like how does it function differently as you think about the different screens, whether it's TV or mobile, or does it function differently?
It does. I mean, it does, because there is a need for mobile. Just from consumer, how you use your phone is very different from when you use a big screen PC or all-in-one or whatever you use. So from what we are also saying is like we are working towards always this continuum of security solution across any device that you have. Irrespective of the screen that you have, we provide device-centric solution, but we also maintain the similar level of experience across the board. That's what the journey that we are working towards now. For example, if you're using a mobile phone, the form factor, the look and feel, the design needs to be relevant to that particular form factor that you have. The features that we are suggesting to our customers when they switch on their phone and they are in an unprotected Wi-Fi, because just the nature of phone, you're outside, out and about, is providing solutions like, hey, you are not in a secured web right now. You want to protect yourself. You're not performing the searches effectively and things like that. So from security solution, that's how we are thinking, just to how to make sure you maintain the same company from brand standpoint, similar experience, but align the design, experience, and features that are relevant for that form factor. Now, from marketing execution standpoint, a lot has changed in mobile completely. Like the whole idea of cookies goes out of the window. The IDFA and other changes that are coming around, it's also it becomes more and more difficult to target and engage and personalize the customer, or even measure the impact on mobile versus a big screen device, PC. So I think that's an ongoing challenge, and probably I know you're smiling at it because it's a topic in itself.
Yeah.
But that's always an ongoing challenge from measurement standpoint. I think that was my point around last click attribution earlier that I talked about. That's how we are kind of approaching it. But I think it is still mobile, and its whole evolution around customer tracking and measurement we will be talking more about that in the next 1 or 2 years, even more so, because the fingerprinting and other technologies are all going to get challenged as it becomes more and more siloed within the walled gardens of different providers and platforms.
It's I mean, a huge topic in itself, just in that whole world. There's a question here about like future challenges to retail and e-commerce and sort of biggest opportunities you see. So big question in a lot of ways. Like, is there any sort of huge opportunities that you're seeing currently that is on the horizon?
Yes, connect your journeys, connect your experiences. Don't look at it as this is retail channel, this is e-commerce channel. Your customer is customer. Don't expect that your customer, when they walk into Best Buy or any store, they are not opening their phone and price shopping, looking for features. So how do you build content that meshes between the two experiences? So for example, this is an old example that I'm giving. For example, if there is a QR code, just customer goes and scans that QR code, and it gives the virtual reality of all the features and the benefits that are available and the use cases how customers are using within the environment of your product itself. So try to build omni-channel experiences. I'm not talking omni-channel marketing and people start thinking advertising. Saying build omni-channel experience and integrate. Huge opportunity. I still feel I go to Best Buy very often. I go to different retail store, very well protected, just to see what's happening in the market. And I feel there are some companies that are doing good, trying to integrate these experiences. If you go to Starbucks and your web and your real life experiences are very well integrated, and they're investing more in making sure these experiences are integrated. And I think we have the similar challenge. So biggest opportunity is unified, seamless experience, irrespective of physical or digital world, and let them augment each other, because that's how customers are using it. They don't want completely different disjointed experience.
Cool. And, a personal question for you is sort of a wrap up here is being a professional dad, and I'm a new dad, like what's your most important advice? I think it's, I'm constantly trying to learn, and, when we get back to the real world, it's going to be interesting for me. So what's your advice?
A few I'll give, but one, you have to enjoy your job. You should have fun what you're doing, because there are ups and downs. You're working from home, you're going to work from office and what have you. But end of the day, it comes out, are you having fun in what you're doing? Because when you connect your passion to what you're doing, that nothing feels hard to you. And I think find your passion. At least that's what I've seen. Like everywhere I've worked, I always look for, do I have the passion? Does it come from within? And that makes it easier than failure. So always look for that. And I think when you connect your passion to your profession, it really gives the fuel to your career growth, etc. Easier said than done. It looks like motherhood and apple pie, but I truly believe if I can give you one thing I've learned in 20 years, find your passion and have fun with what you're doing, and take care of your people. Very, very important. If all you can do is add value to the people who are working, and you can help facilitate the growth of their career and the personal journey that they want to take, there's nothing more satisfying when you look back in your experience that, yeah, I made a difference there. And that's what I would advise. And enjoy.
Awesome.
You said you're a recent dad. Enjoy this time. This is beautiful. Don't blink. Take a lot of pictures and have fun. It's a gift.
I love it. It's been great, and I really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope others did as well. And Jason, we have you back on here.
Yeah, I'm back. Gentlemen, that was amazing. There was so much phenomenal content. I feel like this panel, this session could, I think, gone on all day. And Mark, you are absolutely phenomenal and perfect person to lead this discussion. Sachin, I don't know where you even start with all of the work and how you go about driving your marketing team. I know you obviously have some phenomenal people there, but it's just amazing to hear about the world of cybersecurity. Is like, even with voting coming up, and it's just so on people's minds that it couldn't be a better time to talk about this. So I'm really happy we were able to do so. I had one question. Don't want to drag this on too long because we want to bring up our next panel. But I was wondering if a company like McAfee that has so many different constituents, right? You have elderly people, you have parents, you have Gen Z, young professionals. Can you take anything out of the playbook of the wireless carriers that have utilized a whole family bundling and different types of product opportunities to really drive that long-term value? Because it seems that there are definitely some similarities.
There are, and without disclosing too much, I would say our approach has always been is transitioning from device-centric to household, home, personal, family protection. And I think one thing that telecom providers have done a phenomenal job is changing that conversation. Hey, I want to protect my iPhone, or I want to protect my Nokia, this device, to how do I protect my family? How do I give connectivity to my family? And I think that's the direction we are going as well. I feel a lot of companies are adopting and going in that direction. And I think it's a good trend. And we think and obsess about that. What does that mean? How do we make sure the spectrum of the segments that you talked about, the personas that you talked about, how are we relevant? How is this driving well with Gen Zs, at the same time relevant for elders or seniors or working parents and things like that. So we feel that we have a pretty solid product that we are working towards, and there is more exciting announcements and work that you will hear from McAfee on that. But it's a great question. It's a very insightful question that you asked, and I think it's something that we obsess over the period of time, because it's hard. It's easier said, and easier received. But yeah, it makes sense. But to get to that and getting to the right optimal place requires a lot of thinking, research, and a lot of testing, which is where we're in right now.
Well, thank you for bringing your insights and your enthusiasm to our session today. Mark, thank you so much. What a great job, and I appreciate it. Thank you, and thanks to the entire McAfee organization for really playing a role in helping us create our content here. So thank you, and we're going to move now.
Thank you for
You're welcome.
Thank you for the opportunity, and I will just say, enjoy the day. You have lined up a really good panel, and I'm excited and looking forward to it. So thank you to Brand Innovator for doing this. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sachin. Okay, that was terrific. So much information. I took so many notes. I'm going to have to go back and